I do have one which I get asked quite a lot. So there's a lot of debate around that intensity and the density of grazing, from the sort of uh, older views of, only take a third, trample in a third, through to you should completely graze it, have the stockyard density as tight as possible. So from what you said earlier, it sounds like you're on the more intensive side. Is the higher intensity grazing always better? And how does that vary across climates and landscapes?
Yeah. Simple answers from my experience, absolutely. The more density you can get, I mean, you're just using a bigger hammer, you can achieve it faster. My experience in Zimbabwe and Africa, we ran our stock all behind a single wire electric temporary, but we had about 10,400 paddocks, and we moved between 40 and 80 times a day. So we had a mob of, we started off with 183 head, and in 4 years we had that up to 650 head. We reduced our feed bill from 2.5 kgs to 150 grams of just a mineral lick. Predation virtually stopped. There were no ways the leopards were going to leap into a mob of 650 cows. And just, the rivers started flowing again. We switched off troughs. I mean, it's, if you want to go hard, fantastic. Do you have the resources to do that? And so in Africa, labor was plentiful and cheap. So 85% unemployment or something like that. So, we had the resources to do that. But in terms of actual physical resources, it was just a couple of rolls of poly. And it was all in the wildlife area, so I didn't want any permanent fencing anyway. But that really high density, I think, played a major part in it. And I think parts of up North Queensland, we've got people moving, 4,500 cows every day kind of thing, building a new paddock with Kiwi-Tech fencing. And just about all of them reporting better time management. So we think it's, I think often when we think about moving stock, it's a lot of yeehaw and dust and what have you. But once those animals become programmed, they move really easy. And, there's technology coming about. And, I'm really excited about the possibilities of virtual fencing. Again, I think that's going to be quite a game changer for us. And again, that's developing. I think a lot of people are looking at virtual fencing, especially non-farmers, because again, through their vote, through their buying power, they have influence, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing governments, state governments, not okaying virtual fencing because I think they see it as, poor old cow's got this great big thing around its neck, and it gets a shock. Is that being humane? But if it's ultimately producing more biodiversity, more stability, more resilience in the landscape, it can certainly be a good thing. So I think technology is going to evolve with that. It's a new mob on the market, I think, called Halter, New Zealand crowd, and again, they've got some really good videos on it. But it's evolving, and if we can manage those animals better, for me, the bigger the hammer, the more impact we have. But there's certainly times when you don't need that density. I mean, if you're hoping for trees to come up and get more diversity of trees coming through, again, you probably wouldn't want to use that. So again, it's just a tool. Identify what your problem is in terms of landscape function, and if you need a big hammer, go hard. I also find the shape of paddocks really important, and sort of the concept, I've kind of labeled it maize grazing, but I'm sure lots of people are doing it. But long skinny paddocks give you a much better animal impact as opposed to grazing. So the longer, the skinnier the paddock, the more animal impact, the more trample you get. So if you want to increase trample, the shape of the paddock is really important. We've always gone for kind of square paddocks because financially that's the most financially efficient shape for fencing. But with temporary fencing today, we can make paddocks any shape we want. So long skinny paddocks tend to give us more of that trample if that is what is required.